Kind of a different one today. My friend Mike, the same Mike who talked me into doing these YouTube videos in the first place, uh, sent me a text the other day, saying that I should watch this Jet Li karate movie, and I think he did it because I had told him that I'm not a big fan of karate movies, and he thought I would like this movie here. So I did in fact try watching it, and couldn't get into it at all. I just couldn't, and here's why. Karate was huge for me, especially back in college. That's when I first took it up, and he knew that. That's why he thought I'd be interested in karate movies. So in college I took it up, as a class originally, and then I joined the dojo, and I totally got immersed into it. On a weekend for a week, I would, like during the summer, for example, I was lifeguarding on Lake Michigan all day for 5 days, and for the 2 days on the weekend, or the 2 days that I had off, probably not a weekend, but the 2 days I had off, I would spend the entire day in the dojo. So I would go to one and a half hour class, and then another one, all in the same day, and then I would do the same thing the next day. I was just there all day. I loved it, and I was addicted to it. I was learning everything that you could learn with it, and I even got into it in college. I became president of the karate club, and we invited other types karates to be into it. Other forms, jujitsu and kung fu and Chinese karate and some other ones. I don't know all the names of them. I'm sure somebody is going to point that out to me. Hey, you don't know all the names. No, I don't. But what was cool about the karate club that I was in is, with all these people with different styles, I loved it because I was a thief. If I liked somebody's move, I'd take it, and I'd use it. So when I get into tournaments and I was sparring with somebody, they might look at how I'm lining up and they'll go, "Oh, this guy's an Okinawan karate," and then I'm going to throw a move at him that is completely not Okinawan. So it helped me a lot in tournaments and everything. Um, and then as I'm getting into the karate, there are some things I didn't like about other ones. Like the Chinese karates have like one foot very forward, the other one very far backward, so they're turned sideways kind of to you. Okinawan karate, you're facing directly to them, and I never understood why they would want to have their legs so far apart, because that, for me, I had both arms available for striking, and I had both arms available for defense. They had one, and sure, it helped them with spin kicks and things like that, but I never stole that move. But when I did spar, you never knew if I was going to come at you left-handed or right-handed. I did shift. I would have my right foot forward at times, and other times I'd have my left foot forward. They wouldn't be forward much. I mean, they're only forward a couple of feet. Not like I said, the Chinese karates. And I've greatly, greatly enjoyed tournaments. I loved being able to figure things out, and watch somebody that I'd never seen before and try to beat them in a tournament. And I loved it. Just freaking awesome. And I think just knowing karate kept me out of a lot of fights, or kept me out of fights. I wouldn't have been in a lot of fights. And David Carradine in the movie Kung Fu, uh, that's kind of what that was about. Was karate should be something that promotes peace. Not violent action. Just knowing a karate made it so you wouldn't need to prove anything. Because you knew you'd win. And with me knowing that, I'll give you an example. When I want to say I was around a green belt or so. So a green belt is actually, you're good enough to know the moves, but you don't have a whole lot of. Uh, let's say you can't control yourself quite as well as you can as a brown belt on a black belt, but you know everything. So you're pretty. Green belt might actually be more dangerous than the other ones because they have less control than the other ones. So, but anyway, there was a guy on our high school football team that apparently was bullying my younger brother. And my younger brother wasn't an easy one to bully because he was a weightlifter and and a wrestler, But when my brother told me about this, I knew who the guy was. And then one day I ran into him at a McDonald's, and he was a good 6 inches taller than me and outweighed me by maybe 100 pounds. And I just went up to him and I looked up at him and I said, "You're not going to screw with my brother anymore." And while I'm looking at him, I was thinking, okay, if he makes a move toward me, I'm going to knock his glasses off with that. I'm going to hit him with my left hand going this way here, and then a front kick here. So I was figuring out what I was going to do, how I was going to attack him, the same way I was when I was in tournaments. And this guy looks at me, and I think, that part of the animal in him said, "This guy's figuring out how to wipe me out right now." And he just, so he kind of goes, "Okay, I won't screw with him anymore." So I didn't get, I didn't like declare, "Hey, I will kick your ass." If that, I never understood kicking the ass anyway. What is kicking an ass going to do? Your ass is padded. You're not going to hurt anybody by kicking them in the ass. If I'm going to kick somebody, it's not going to be in the ass. I can tell you that. So anyway, but I did actually, once I did get into a fight with my brother, and his weightlifting, he kept his weights down by the ping pong table, and to move the weights, I was not strong enough to lift even one half of the weights. He was that strong, and I would get on my butt, and then I would push the weights out of the way with my legs because I couldn't lift them. But anyway, Jim and I got into a fight one time, and he was in the house and basically challenged me, and I said, "Okay, well, let's go outside. We're not going to do it in the house." And we went outside, and he ended up with a black eye, and I ended up not getting hurt at all, even though he was way stronger than me and a wrestler. He couldn't touch me. I knew the defenses and defended myself quite easily with it. So it was, I, and like I said, I was maybe a green belt at the time myself. So like I said, they're dangerous, but they're good. You know, because you're way past the yellows and the other colors that they have. But karate can be important too. A woman, I'm not going to say who it was, came up to me once and said that she was attacked in her home by her ex-boyfriend, and he was strangling her, and her roommate came home, and then the guy ran away. And when she told me that, she was staying with us, and I said, well, I'm going to teach you some self-defense. And I taught her some moves. Like one move would be, you take the palm of your hand and you jam it right up into the nose, and it can drive that right up into the brain, and that's a killing move. And I taught her a few moves like that. Hit into the Adam's apple kind of thing. And she said, "Well, I don't want to kill anybody." And I go, "You're not going to kill anyone because you're going to miss. You're going to be so upset, but it's going to cause enough pain and damage that it might end it right there. And if you do kill him, too bad. You don't attack a woman." But anyway, and so karate is good to know with that kind of thing. So it was a huge part of my life, and the reason it got out of my life was when I was transferred into Illinois. Okinawan karate was not anything I ran into all that much out here. My dog. Uh, so I didn't find a dojo that had my type karate in it. I didn't want to get into a different disciple kind of thing. Although wait, I will take it back. I did finally discover a dojo, and I started going to that one when I lived up kind of in northwest Chicago, and it was probably the only time that I was able to impress my wife. It's hard for me to impress my wife because she came to see me once spar with another black belt, and they had a ring. I had never been in a ring before, like a boxing ring kind of thing. It was totally cool, but it does restrict your movement. But the whole thing is with karate, you need to be able to defend yourself, restricting yourself in movements. Like we had one example we would take off our karate belt and we'd make a circle, and we would have to stay in the circle and defend ourselves against two people attacking us. So, because you never know if you're going to have enough room. So sparring in the ring, was something I would have to be able to. I wouldn't have to learn because I'm never going to run into a ring, but I have to be able to defend myself, in an area that I can't move. So anyway, my wife watched me spar this guy, and afterwards she went, "I knew you knew karate, but I had no idea." So she had, so it was a lot more than what she expected because I was totally into that sport. But I did end up moving on from that into swimming and volleyball and other things when, when I got transferred again. But it's something that I always remembered, and I knew I could do it. I knew I'd be able to use it if I needed to use it. Um, I mean, my perfect timing wouldn't be there because I wasn't practicing all the time, but I could. Here, I'll give you an example. When far a long time after we moved, across the street, our neighbors had one of their cousins came over. He was 7'2", and I said, "Hey, I want to try something. I'm not going to hurt you, I promise you, but I just want to see if I can do it." And I did a jump kick to see whether or not I could have been able to kick him in the face. So I did, like right in front of him, and it was an easy one, and was able to do it easy. So if you're 7 foot, it doesn't matter how tall you are, I can kick you in the face. At least I could then. I can now in a wheelchair, but back then I could. In a wheelchair, yeah, my legs don't like to move around so much. So let's get back onto the karate movies and everything. I don't like the martial art movies because I don't like how I don't like when they make impossible feats. Like somebody jumping, like 20 feet, 10 feet of it in the air. It's physically impossible for a human to do. I don't like the way that they speed the film to fast motion it, make it faster than it would be. I don't like when they do something unrealistic with it. I was watching a movie last night that had a little bit of karate in it, believe it or not. And the lady was saying, "Yeah, you hold your hand out here and you put the other one up here. Why would you have your other hand way up in the air?" It's just, well, I mean, maybe a different. I don't know what the purpose of that would be. I would like to know if it had a purpose, but it doesn't seem to me like it would be a good defense move, kind of thing. So, and then I started thinking, when he ran this Jet Li thing by me because he said Jet Li is really really good. I don't dispute that at all. I mean, his karate is very very good. Some other ones I'm not as impressed with. Chuck Norris, I think his karate was okay. I would I'm pretty sure I would have done well against him in a tournament. And what's weird is my sensei, I don't know my Japanese all that way. Ishni sanchi go rakushi saku. So I can still count to 10 in Japanese. But anyway, my sensei, actually trained with him for a while, so they knew each other. But his karate is good, but I didn't think he wouldn't have scared me if I was going to be sparring against him in a tournament. Now, if it came to Bruce Lee, yeah, he'd kick my butt. See that whole kicking up butt thing? What's that all about? He'd have destroyed me. And he was Batman's. He was on Batman, so he'd have been maybe my favorite. Now you know what? My favorite would be, I think, Jackie Chan, especially the Drunken Master movie thing. Where he mixed it. I mean, it's realistic and funny, and well done. That was good karate. Another one that I enjoy the movie, the original Karate Kid. I think that was really well done because they took a guy, Ralph Macchio, who obviously did not know karate, and they actually pretty much trained him on the show. And because he didn't know it, it made it very realistic to watch. So his training, yeah, he looked like a feeble yellow belt as he was learning the moves. And I think the other thing I like about Karate Kid is that I think it might have been my form of karate. That whole wax on, wax off. We didn't call it that, but our moves, defense, be like this far. You only need to defend to make a punch miss you, and you only have to just tap it. If somebody's throwing a punch at you, you just need to tap it. You don't need to stop it. I mean, because it takes a lot of strength to stop a punch. You just need to tap it to the side. It's all you need to do, and you can do it to the left or you can do it to the right, depending on how you want to defend it. So if somebody threw a right punch at me, one of those roundhouse swings, which is stupid, you can just step inside of that really easy, capture the arm in your left arm, and then just do, move right up into the guy's face or into his body with your other hand. Very easy to do. Roundhouse punches. That's the other thing when I watch TV and I see people fighting, and they're always throwing punches and everything, and very rarely do you see anyone kick. And for me, that front kick, yeah, you're gone with that. Jump front kick, you're in the face, you're done. That fight's over with. In one quick move. And if somebody threw a spinning kick at me in tournaments, for example, I had some spinning kicks that I used, but I didn't use them frequently because if somebody did one to me in a tournament As soon as I see their body turn, I step forward into it. I don't step away from a spin kick. I step into it. So I'm actually behind their back as they're going into the swing. And, that makes me vulnerable to an elbow, but I'd already be attacking them. So spin kicks were not all that successful against me because I looked forward to them, to using them. But like I said, I use my own spin kicks. Like if you do a spin kick, a person steps away from it. I would land and you could go right. I could do a spin kick where I go spin, spin, spin. Do like 4 spin kicks in a row. After the person who's backing away from me. So I could do it. It just wasn't my go-to move, kind of thing. And well, with Karate Kid too. While I really enjoyed the movie, the kid he took on that played Johnny Lawrence, I think, blonde-haired kid. Now he knew his stuff. If he would have taken on Ralph Macchio for real in karate, it would have been no contest. Macchio would have been down and out in seconds. And I actually give that guy credit for sparring with him in a way that looked like Macchio was winning. So he had to turn down his karate, in order to let Macchio look good and win. And then when Macchio did, the one thing in the movie that irritated the crap out of me was that crane kick where he hurts his foot, then he's standing on one foot, and he puts both arms up in the air, and then he wins by kicking with the same foot that he's standing on. If somebody would have done that to me in a tournament, very easy, foot sweep, he's done. You're not gonna beat me if you're on one foot. And plus I can step to the left or the right. You can't move. That was a ridiculous move, but it works if you don't understand karate, which is again the whole thing with about karate movies. If you don't understand karate, you can probably love the movies. But if you know karate, you're gonna have your problems with it. It's like watching somebody swim. I can see if somebody's got a sucky stroke, just by watching them. Same with karate. So anyway, I enjoyed talking about this and remembering, back when I was able to kick and do things like that. So thank you for watching and listening. Still working on getting my short stories into magazines. Most of them have like a 3 to 4 month period. So hopefully by Christmas, start hearing some more. One magazine. There are 2 places that might be appearing on, so I'm looking kind of good. I hope with it. But anyway, thank you for watching and listening. And if you want to check me out, my website www.normcowie.com. That's COWIE. Thank you for watching, listening. Take care. Okay, all right, bye.